We talked a little bit that your first ever podcast was with Peter Attia, who's one of the people that I look up to the most in that field, especially. And his book was tremendous. Ironically, I read it like 2 months before I was diagnosed, but it was helpful because that was I don't remember the exact full reason why I ended up going in, but that was one of the things that I was just blown away that some of the biggest killers, the big four are in the medical world are only being treated, and there's nothing going into the prevention when the prevention is quite literally our best defense against any of it. Like, prevention and early detection is really our only defense against cancer still to this day.
Well, it's almost like the whole industry of medicine is trying to just profit off you being sick.
Yeah, it's just crazy. It's weird, right?
Weird.
Yeah.
It's a weird thing.
It's almost like trillions of dollars or something like that is going to some of these
pockets. I talk about this all the time with friends and family, and I don't necessarily think it's like, some evil genius, well, Fauci excluded, but some evil genius, trying to figure this out. I just think sometimes, you have industries that are kind of symbiotic and organizations that capture each other in different ways, and you can see the FDA and big pharma, certainly share a lot of leadership positions.
Yes.
It seems to be a revolving door. You get to know how the FDA works, and then boom, you're the CEO of a big pharmaceutical company.
Yeah, you're a consultant getting paid big bucks. Yeah.
Right, how to work through the system.
Yep.
And the system is basically rewarded for profit.
Yep.
And the profit comes from treatment, not from prevention. And it's unfortunate.
How do you feel about the pharmaceutical industry and advertising?
I think that should be the first thing that's eliminated,
Yeah.
to be honest. Because what that happens...
We're one of 2 countries in the entire world. That's crazy by itself. There's 200 countries, and only us in New Zealand they're allowed to have pharmaceutical commercials.
So that tells you the power of the lobbying and the power of the pharmaceutical companies.
Yeah.
But what that does, it captures another industry, which is the media.
Yes, because they're bought and paid for.
Who's going to be looking into, whether this particular treatment or vaccination or whatever is safe and effective if every other ad is paid and bought by the company?
Seriously.
That you want to ask that question to.
Yeah,
so,
right.
I mean, look, like I said, no love lost for journalists. I mean, journalists not doing their job.
Yeah,
unfortunately.
Correct. Yeah.
They're doing the job to just keep their job. They're not doing a journalism job.
They're doing the job that they're got hired to do,
Sure.
but it's not actual journalism anymore, unfortunately. Which is, again, that's why it's so strange to me that podcasters and really just any non-traditional media has been vilified for that. And it's like, well, somebody's got to be doing the work. Like, somebody's got to be providing access to information that's not handed down from somebody who's profiting off of the very information that they're
Or a
spreading.
talking point or a soundbite or whatever. Let's
Right.
get into the deep conversation. Let's get into the
Right.
research.
Yeah, well, you hear, even when I forget his name, the chief medical correspondent at CNN went on Rogan. Probably,
Gupta?
What was it?
Gupta?
Yes,
Sanjay Gupta.
Sanjay Gupta, yep. He went on there, and Rogan just straight up asked him about it wasn't hydroxychloroquine, it was the other one, ivermectin. He just straight up asked him, he's like, but you know that it's not what they were reporting it to be when I said I was taking it, right? And he was, of course, trying to dodge the question. And it was just like, it's so obvious. Like, and even the guy, like, you're the chief medical, like, this is your job to provide accurate information about the medical industry to your organization.
Right.
And
Calling it a horse dewormer and all that.
yeah,
business.
that's crazy. It's objectively insane when it's something that's, I had never heard of it, obviously pre-COVID, because I'm not in the medical field, but apparently it's a really widely used
Absolutely. And so, like, we use hydroxychloroquine often for patients who have inflammatory conditions of the scalp, and this is something in dermatology we've been using for many, many, many years. It's not just a malaria drug or whatever.
Yeah.
But during the pandemic, I mean, I'm a member of many WhatsApp groups, International Society of Hair Restoration Surgery, and of course, as this was kind of spreading all throughout in the early part of 2020, I'm seeing what's going on these WhatsApp groups. They're saying, hey, our local ER, urgent care, whatever, whether they be in India or some other location in Italy, they're telling us what's happening kind of in real time. I wouldn't say it's like it's not like X or Twitter.
Sure.
But basically, it's a way where groups of 1,000 physicians are telling us what's happening. We saw this many patients, this is what was treated, or a friend of mine had this, that, and the other thing going on. Here's a picture of what happened. No, there's no body bags here. Yes, there are body bags there. So I'm seeing all this in real time. And they're talking, and remember, most of these countries, they have access to these very inexpensive drugs that have been approved for other things for many, many years that they use routinely.
Right.
So ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, they're talking about these protocols. Here's the protocol that worked in the last 10 patients. And if you see that protocol, somebody says, oh, I tried your protocol and it worked, you start to get a sense, a signal out of the noise pops out.
Yeah, well, that's enough data. That's enough data. 1,000 data points.
If you're watching it, right? If you're watching it, just like Elon says, well, he could tell when the algorithm changed and people were getting shadow banned on Twitter because he was a prolific user of it. Well, during the pandemic, what else are we going to do? I'm watching the WhatsApp group, seeing what's happening. It was a way we got information.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of noise, but there was signal in there too.
Sure. But
big time.
That's how it should work.
Right.
It's like there's a lot of noise, but in the noise you find truth. And that's how truth comes forward. That's how it rises to the top.
Absolutely. And it's the same whether you're trying a new surgical technique for hair transplantation.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what happens in these, fast moving message groups. So we don't have to wait a whole year to go to the conference. I'm seeing what's happening in real time. Somebody's trying it, somebody's debunking it, somebody says, oh, it worked on this, but not on that.
Yeah.
That's how science is moving forward now at a fast pace. People often ask me, even someone asked me just the other day, how do I stay on top of new technologies? And it's just, just be aware. Just keep your ears and eyes open for information.
Yeah.
That's one of the ways to do it.
What do you think is the solution moving forward to get back to not just in the medical field, but also in society at large? Because now, the problem now is that everything becomes politicized. It's like if somebody that you don't like says something true, you vilify it, even though it might be true, which is wild to me. I grew up a fundamentalist Baptist, and so every piece of information was controlled in my life until I was in my early 20s. And one of my core values now coming out of that is accept truth wherever you find it, because we were just not allowed to read anything beyond these
you prove narrative.
Yes, these 12 authors or whatever, like anything outside of that, like that person, is a heretic, or this person is a compromiser, or this person, you know what I mean? So you can't accept any information from these people because this is detrimental information or whatever. And again, that's not how truth works.
Right.
And so now you have someone like an RFK who's done tremendous work throughout his entire life, all on the left side of the political spectrum. But now, just because he endorses a candidate that is a very obviously polarizing candidate, now anything he says is complete nonsense, and he's a conspiracy theorist and an anti-vaxxer, and all. You start labeling people with these terms that make you just not listen to a word that they say, which is so damaging. And I'm not exactly sure how long it's going to take to pull out of that, or what needs to happen in order for people to start accepting that there are sources of truth all over. You just have to be willing to listen.
I think it's full circle. You got to read the book. Go back and read that book, and then you'll know what's going on.
Yeah.
It really doesn't pertain. What side of the political spectrum he's on. I mean, if you want to get down to your ramparts and take a side. I mean, I don't know. I think it's like you say, find the truth where it lies.
Yeah.